Hey, what's up everybody? Nuke TV here with one more Great League video before we dive into the Scroll Cup or the Ultra League. Preliminary data shows that the Scroll Cup is pretty brutal. Morpeko, Mandibuzz, and even Charmers everywhere. So I'm hoping that we can get some good battles ready for you guys. But before we do that, we've got one final video showcasing once again a triple buffed team with the rollout Glalie, the Psywave Venomoth, and then as always the Sludge G-Weezing. From what I'm seeing now, I think the G-Weezing is going to be here to stay this season. It is just such a good player and absolutely running the nukes. Speaking of Morpeko, here we have it on the lead in this first battle. Gonna just build up some energy, probably have to respect this Aura Wheel and then throw this Avalanche. And then it's a Psychic Fangs bait. So many Morpeko are loving to bait this season, and it is driving me insane. You've got a nuke Pokemon, stop throwing cheap little debuffing moves. I think it's ridiculous that it can learn a buffing and a debuffing move, but I don't want to get too into the weeds here. Gonna make them throw another Psychic Fangs here, and then just throw this Sludge Fang or Sludge with the Weezing here, and then hopefully do some pretty solid chip damage into this Talonflame. And then if we can get to the next one, that would be amazing. And hopefully we can give up a shield and go for a farm down with the Glalie on lead. But let's see how it plays out. We get to this move, gonna give up a shield. I don't know how close the Talonflame is to another move here. They go for a boost. We get the farm down. That is incredible. And then now, based off what they throw in, we've got to be ready to switch out. And then in comes the Venomoth. So now we've got this super effective Poison Fang coming into the Wigglytuff. It's not quite enough to KO, but it should be enough to get the farm down. I was not expecting that. And then now we've got a super unnecessary Bug Buzz. Absolutely not bubbling all of it, but we did some bubbles just to be cautious to get that KO against the Morpeko lead. So we were able to play out of that tricky lead and come away with a dub. So I will 100% take that, especially after getting Psychic Fangs debuffed. And then into the next battle. In these battle sets, we are going to see how much the Venomoth has been juicing. It does a stupid amount of damage with that stab Bug Buzz. It is ridiculous. And it's a pretty good safe swap. We can tank one Rage Fist. I'm not afraid of that. So we're going to let this go. The opponent goes for the double resisted close combat. And then now in comes a Clodsire. So I'm going for a debuff here just so I can give up a shield at some point in this matchup and just let these Psywaves start to add up more and more into this Clodsire. We might have waited a bit too long to throw that Bug Buzz, so that might be a mistake on my part. But even still, I had a plan to shield anyways, so I'm not going to give up on that plan now. Gonna throw this Bug Buzz. Now this might pull a shield from the opponent, but it doesn't pull a shield, so we get the full farm down. And then now, depending on what the opponent brings in, we don't get to our second Psychic Fangs, but we do now have this good matchup into the Lapras with our Glalie, and then they swap into this Primeape again. So let's see what they throw this time. Once again, it's a close combat, so I don't know if this is like a single moved Pokemon or what, but now we can get to this Sludge, threaten some pretty solid damage into this Lapras. They do not respect it with a shield, but they've got two shields and they're getting pretty low. And then I think this looks like a CMP tie, so the opponent might have gotten like a little bit greedy there and played to a CMP tie here. Now they have to give up a shield, and now we should be able to come in, farm up a ton with this Glalie, deal super effective Rock Slide damage, and shield whatever move they throw into us. I'm not going to let them throw, or I guess first. I was hoping to go for a sneak, but they do throw in really good timing, so that's a bit brutal for us. And now we've got double Avalanche, but I'm a little bit worried that the double resisted Avalanche isn't going to KO. So I reach for the Shadow Ball, and they outpace us by like a turn. So I think at that point, I should have just committed to the Avalanche and thrown it. I do believe that at that point, they were in range. But I've run a rank 1 Shadow before, a rank 1 Lapras before. I know how much it can eat damage. So I got really fearful that it would live on like 1 HP if I threw that double resisted move. But I think that ultimately it was a blunder on our part. But that's okay. We grow from it, move into the next battle. Tricky lead in the beginning, so I'm going to be safe swapping Venomoth once again. And then in comes an Alomomola. So far, it's looking like a Love Cup team. I do not understand why we still see Love Cup teams in the open Great Leagues. Like, I don't know what's going on, but this Alomomola, with its pacing, cannot beat this Venomoth if we want to give up shields. And we've gotten it pretty low, so we should be able to now just go for a full farm down and flip switch and get that Galarian Weezing lined up against this Wigglytuff. And they come back in with this, so if they do not respect this damage from the Poison Fang, it's going to do heavy damage. So they do respect the damage, but now, since we've switched switch, we are feeling pretty good in this matchup. I can safely tank this damage, even though it's a stab swift coming from this Wigglytuff. It does pretty solid damage, but again, our pacing is incredible, so we can get to the Sludge, and we will get to a second Sludge before they get to another move. So yeah, they let it go, and then now in comes a Bruxish. I'm going to hot swap out. I believe we can tank the Psychic Fangs, so we might be putting the Glalie Bulk to the test here, and we can tank it, and now we even get to the Shadow Ball, which is incredible, and we've got the Sludge banked. We've chipped them a little bit with rollouts, so now going to go for one Fairy Wind, get a little bit more chip, and then Hail Mary this Sludge, and pray that it KOs, and it does, so let's go. Super clutch. Love Cup team, so that is, again, just incredible. I do not understand why opponents keep bringing Love Cups. I feel like that's like the 4th video that we've seen where Love Cup teams come out to play, even though the Love Cup is way over. But it was a win, so again, I will take it. I'm not going to complain. And then Wigglytuff lead once again, so probably same exact game plan. But then the opponent switches out instantly into a Dunsparce. So I'm going to outpace this Poison Fang. Might be a bit of a mistake on my part, because we could just threaten some really heavy damage with this Bug Buzz. But I didn't want to give up a shield first. But it looks like we're going to anyways, so that is a little bit brutal for us. But now they're debuffed, and this second Poison Fang is going to threaten their Pokemon. So they've got to shield this, or give up the Dunsparce. And now that they're double debuffed, I can probably come in and go for a neutral rollout farm down and eat one Rock Slide. And then we'll come out with an Avalanche to threaten that Wigglytuff if it comes back in. So yeah, again, using the Glalie is the tank here, even though it's not all that tanky, it looks like. But it's probably the tankiest on the team, so I will let it be done. And we know that it's got a pretty tricky matchup. Gonna save that Avalanche and then hot swap in. And then in comes a Feraligatr. So gonna get to the Sludge before they throw their move to make sure that they can't sneak a move. And then look at how much damage that does. So now I know that I can go for a full farm down and then come out with almost 2 Sludges, maybe even 2 Sludges already. Oh, we're like 1 Fairy Wind off. So I'm going to throw 1 Fairy Wind, get this Sludge, throw it, and then throw the back-to-back Sludge. And then if the switch timers are up, which it looks like it will be, we can go for the combo play to get this Avalanche KO into the Wigglytuff. So bam, here it is, hot swap, tap the Avalanche, and then we can hit all these bubbles and then go for the KO with the Shadow Glalie, who initially fleed from the Wigglytuff in the beginning of the match. But with that energy advantage, it was a completely different story. So incredible way to play that out. Didn't really win switch with the Dunsparce, but we were able to come out with a ton of energy that could eventually threaten the backline Pokemon of the opponent. And then interesting lead here. Neutral matchup defensively, but we're dealing super effective fast moves and neutral charge moves, but they hit so dang hard. But because it's a neutral matchup, I'm not going to shield. I'm just going to force the opponent to give up a shield if they want to. And let's see what they do. They do respect the damage. They give us a shield. And then they try to swap out. And in comes a Quagsire, which is a little bit tricky for our team. So we're actually going to throw this Avalanche. And then because they let it go, we can come in, shield once, respect the Stone Edge, and then go for the full farm down. And then hopefully outpace that Charger Bug to a Bug Buzz before they get to the next move. And let's see how it goes. We get there. Are they going to respect this damage? First nuke of the video. And they do not. It's a one-shot KO with that Bug Buzz, which is insane. And then in comes an Annihilate, which gets completely hard countered by our Venomoth and our Weezing, which they did not know about yet. And then we get the 4-1 set in that battle set. So I will 100% take that, especially with 2 Wigglytuffs on lead. And then that Psychic Fangs matchup into the Morpeko early on. I will absolutely take a 4-1. That is incredible. And then into the next battle set here. I do believe that we've got 2 complete battle sets and then just some kind of like highlight reels here and there. But let's see how it plays out. Tricky lead in the beginning. They've got a Blastoise, which resists our Ice-type moves, and it deals super effective damage to both the Glalie and the Venomoth. So I'm going to stay in here, tank a Hydro Cannon, and then bait with this resisted damage. Let's see if the opponent respects it. And they do. They thought we were throwing the Shadow Ball, but now if they go for the farm down, we can get to this Shadow Ball and then really threaten some big damage. So let's see what the opponent does. They do respect it with a shield. Gonna come up with a Weezing because it's got a bit better pacing, and we can technically tank 1 Hydro Cannon if needed. But let's see if we do end up tanking it, or if we just double shield and farm up a ton of damage. Or energy, I mean, sorry. We do double shield, so now we can go for more farm, but the opponent had way more energy than I expected, and they get to a Hydro Cannon eventually anyways, and so now we get to see how much we can tank this. Not amazingly, but decently enough to be able to reach another charge move if need be into whatever comes in. And then in comes the Drapion, and then once again the overheat coverage is going to be coming in clutch here with the one shot. Not quite, but we snipe with the Psy Wave, and then now in comes an Annihilate. We can get to this Poison Fang, debuff their defense, and we can in fact live 1 Rage Fist. So even if they get to a move, we do not go down to it, and we'll get to this Poison Fang. But it looks like the Psy Waves will outpace anyways, and we'll get to that. They throw the Ice Punch, which might hit a little bit harder, but it does not hit hard enough. We get that win. Really tricky lead Pokemon from the opponent. But then with the energy advantage that we built up on the Weezing, it just went absolutely crazy. And then with the double resistance to the counters, it might have even reached a second move on the Annihilate if we let it. Oh my god, this is a horrible matchup. A Galarian Stunfisk, which just completely core breaks this entire team. But I know that Rock Slide's been nerfed, and it's non-stab, so I'm not afraid to tank it on this Glalie. I will eventually respect the damage if needed, but we can just kind of similarly pace to these moves, play to the CMP charge or CMP ties, but it looks like we actually outpace here by like what, 1 turn or so. And then if they shield this, I'm probably going to go, oh no, going to stay in, hopefully force them to throw, and they do throw, which is amazing for us. And now I have no idea how I want to play out of this. Let's see what we do. I think probably the Galarian Weezing is the safer bet. We will have to respect a potential Earthquake if they build up to it, and it looks like they are building up to it. So, gonna respect this damage. If they bait us with a Rock Slide, it'll be a little bit brutal. But again, I want to keep this Galarian Weezing alive, at least for a bit, so we can hopefully put this Galarian Weezing into a Psywave farm down if needed. They did not build up this time, or maybe they did and I just called a bait. If we did, totally savage, might have been accidental, I don't know. But now we get to this overheat, throw it, and then whatever comes in, we've got to switch out, and it's an Azumarill. So it was a bad matchup for them, but we were double debuff, so we had to get out of there. But now we've got another good matchup into this Azumarill, so let's see how this plays out. And they shield the first Poison Fang, which is incredible. So now we can respect this damage, build up a little bit more energy, and then we can see how the opponent wants to play out of this. If they go for a catch, we have so much energy built up. And they do go for a catch, but now it's time for another nuke from the Venomoth. One shot with the Bug Buzz, let's go. And then we get to this Poison Fang, and then we can probably come in and outpace to the Sludge with our backline Pokemon. But we've already got one, no pacing needed, just throw the move, click on it and throw, and we get the combo play to get the dub there. That was absolutely incredible. Again, energy management on this team just went absolutely crazy in the end game. That was what, another 3-1 set, so it looks like these battles are just completely out of order. My apologies about that, but these are 100% just some absolute nuke highlight reels. Venomoth went crazy with the damage potential that it offered with that set stab Shadow Bug Buzz. Bug Buzz in general hits pretty hard as a move, and Venomoth, I've learned, makes absolute use of it if allowed. So now Drapion on the lead this time, so I'm probably just going to stay in, tank the first move, and then try to pull a shield if possible with the Glalie. If we live this comfortably enough, we'll probably stay in a little bit longer. They don't get the debuff, so now we're probably going to stay in here and then try to get to another move or force the opponent to throw. But if they go for a full farm down, it will be a little bit risky for us, because then they will really threaten our backline Pokemon. So we're going to hot swap out, technically safe swapping into what is not necessarily a good matchup. But then they come in with a fortress, so I'm building up extra energy, and then we're going to see another one-shot, double super effective overheat coming into this fortress, and then there it goes. Hi, bye, you're done with this matchup. And then now we get to the sludge. It's double debuffed, but it should put them low enough for we can go for a farm down if the opponent allows us on our Venomoth. So let's see how this plays out. They throw the Aqua Tail. They don't get greedy. They throw super quickly. So now I know that we should be able to build up a nice energy lead on this Venomoth for whatever they have in back. Let's see how this plays out. Gotta respect this crunch that comes in. It doesn't get the debuff, which is nice for us. And then now, who do they have in back? And it's a Gliscopod, so also another buffed Pokemon, but it is not ready for this neutral stab Bug Buzz. Almost a one-shot, and then the Side Waves get the farm down. That is insane. That was over 90% damage neutrally to that Pokemon. Once again, there is no understating or overstating, whatever the correct verbiage is there, how hard that Bug Buzz hits from the Venomoth. We could technically go for Silver Wind as a quicker bug-type move, but I want to continue respecting the absolute nukes this season. Interesting lead in the next battle, but the opponent is the one that safe swaps out. So we're going to throw this Avalanche, pull a shield, and if they throw instantly, we can survive that Shadow Punch, but not going to let them build up to a Dynamic Punch. Maybe even try to catch a Dynamic Punch, but I don't think they had enough energy. But now we can probably give up a shield here and pull a second shield if possible, or if the opponent allows us, if we throw this Poison Fang. And if it does land, we should be able to get a farm down shortly afterwards. So let's see how it goes. We do land, we do get the farm down, so switch is maintained, and we both have one shield left. We don't quite get that Poison Fang, which is a little bit brutal, but again, the Galarian Weezing matchup is absolutely insane into this Wigglytuff, and we outpace to the Icy Wind, so they can't even debuff us before this damage comes in. So they've got to respect that damage. They do give us a shield. They throw the Swift, don't even debuff us, and then now what is going to come in, and it is a Gastrodon, so we can get to this Avalanche. They build up some energy, so we have to respect this damage. We need this Glalie to live long enough to get to 2 Avalanches, and then we should be able to win this game. So we throw the first Avalanche, build up some energy. They get to a move, so we are crossing our fingers, hoping that the Glalie holds on. And it does with 1 HP. That is insane. So now we can throw this, take out the Gastrodon, hopefully hot swap into the Galarian Weezing, but we can't quite. But a little bit of extra chip damage I will 100% take. And now the Sludge should absolutely KO. And it does. Once again, taking out a Wigglytuff with this team. When I ran this team, I believe it was right after all the content creators started hyping up Shoutout Capcut. So everybody was running the Charmers and the Poison types, and we just went crazy with this team. Into the next battle, Glalie once again into an Ampharos, which is insane. So we can build up some energy, but they immediately swap out. And then I fumble the bag here and swap out into my Venomoth, but we do get to this Poison Fang. And so we can threaten some pretty solid stab damage or pull a shield. We do pull the shield, so now I have to come in and go for a full rollout farm down on this Pokemon, even though we're gonna have to give up both shields. So we shield the Blast Burn, and then they should get to another Blast Burn here. I think they've got so much energy. Maybe it's just a Thunder Punch, but it is the Blast Burn. Thunder Punch would have KO'd anyways. And then in comes a Shadow Machamp, so I'm throwing the first Avalanche, but we've got 2 banked, but I want to save it for later. So we swap into the Galarian Weezing. We can tank any one move here, but I'm expecting them to switch out. We barely live that Stone Edge, but we get to this Overheat, and this should one-shot the Pokemon. And because of how low we are, they cannot get a huge farm down. So we outpace to the move that we already have banked, and we get this Shadow Avalanche off to KO the Machamp. If we'd lived that Stone Edge any better, the opponent should have been able to win that with a quick farm down. But we hung on with just the perfect amount of minimal HP to prevent that farm down, and we get that win. That was absolutely insane. huge damage landing left, right, and center, and really, really clutch rollout farm down. Tricky lead here for our backline, but it's a pretty good matchup for our Glalie, and we can outpace to the heavy hitting move of Avalanche before they get to their really threatening acrobatics. So I'm probably going to build up. They let us get to a second move here, so we throw this, going to pull a second shield, and now we are in a golden opportunity to just let this Glalie go down and then fully sweep. But then they come in with the Lapras, so we can stay in even longer with this Glalie, who's going on an absolute tear this game, get to the Shadow Ball, and then hopefully force them to throw, which they do. So now we can come in, get the full farm down with a shield given to this Lapras, and then win CMP if that Emolga comes back in. And if we do, we will make them waste all of that energy that they built up earlier in that lead matchup. So we get the farm down, we are in the yellow, they're waiting out their switch clock, but then I think they're going to come in with the Emolga, which they do. We win CMP, which is insane, and then we get this KO, hopefully. We do get the KO, they're so low at that point, and then now in comes a Pangoro, so we get to this Bug Buzz, and then this is only neutral because of that fighting subtyping, but it one-shots, once again, this Venomoth just sending in Hail Mary after Hail Mary of insane damage, and it was proving its mettle, definitely earning a spot on this team. And then now what is into most likely the final battle. Let's see if we can get another nuke to land. Taking a little bit to join in, but we got there. Shadow Glalie into a Guzzlord. So this is technically a bad matchup for the opponent, but they probably outpace us to damage. But they instantly swap out into a Corsola. So I'm going to build up. We do not build up to the Shadow Ball, but this is intentional because I want to get some damage onto this Corsola. And then just play this lead matchup out. Hopefully pull a shield here, because we don't actually have an amazing matchup with this Glalie into the Guzzlord without an energy lead. So I'm just going to let it go down, come in with the Venomoth, get an energy lead, and then we can threaten that Guzzlord with a Bug Buzz if they let us get there. So we're going to go for this farm down. They throw the Nightshade, and then they hot swap into the Guzzlord, so we swap into the Galarian Weezing, which is an insane matchup. We are doing double super effective damage with the Fairy Wind. I undercharge this move to get even more farm after we can go for this full farm down, and then still threaten that Galarian Corsola if it comes back in. But let's see what the opponent does. They're waiting out the switch timer, which is the correct thing to do. But I think if they don't want to shield the Pokemon, oh, they bring in a Grumpig, so we go for this Overheat, which is going to threaten some insane damage. So they respect it, and then now we can hot swap in, get to this Bug Buzz before the switch timer comes back up, or maybe it was just kind of a 50-50 call, Jesus. We get the one shot, and then we can go for this full farm down into this Galarian Corsola, but we get to the move, and we can no bubble it for the final dub of the video. The final battle where Venomoth just absolutely showcases its one-shot potential in today's Open Great League meta. And that was a 4-1 set. We saw some pretty good sets in the scattered highlight reels of today's battle. So we went pretty positive with this team. Again, I think it was just because of the awareness of Cacturn overall and how people played out their teams and built them for today's battle sets. But I will take that. Incredible fun. And then coming up next, we will have some Scroll Cup battles later this week if I can ever get some good sets. So wish me luck. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been YetiNopeTV, and this was an insane battle set and battle team composition to run. I'm hoping to bring you guys more spice later this week. Have a good night. Thank you.